I'm in hangar number 3 at the Waddington Heritage Centre stand, and I'm with a gentleman called Mike Chatterton. Mike, a very good morning to you. Thank you very much for sparing a few moments for Gravity FM. What's your rank, please, Mike?
I'm a flight lieutenant in the RAF, but only just. I'm retiring today.
Retire today?
After 40 years in the RAF, yeah, so it's a special day for me today, and it's a great environment to be doing it in.
Oh, absolutely. You fly the Lancaster, is that correct?
I used to fly the Lancaster, yes. When I was based at Coningsby, I had the great opportunity for about 9 years to fly the BMF Lancaster from 1989 through to 1997, and that covered all the 50th anniversaries of the Second World War, so it was a fantastic period to be flying it.
So what's it like flying the Lancaster then?
Unique, I would say. For me, my dear old dad used to fly Lancasters with 44 Squadron at Dunham Lodge in the war, so for me to follow his footsteps was even better, really. I also still get to taxi the Lancaster at East Kirkby, where Father also flew, so it's in my blood, really. I think Lancasters a fantastic aeroplane to fly, quite a demanding aircraft to fly in some ways, lovely to take off, lovely to fly, landing you're never ever too sure about with those great big round wheels. There's always a bit of a lap of the gods as to whether it's going to be a nice smooth greaser or whether it's going to be a bit of a bounce.
And doesn't it make a wonderful sound?
It's a beautiful sound, absolutely unique sound. When I do taxi runs at East Kirkby, it's one of the things I always emphasise, the music of those Merlin engines. There's no sound quite like it. It's that fantastic anticipation as well. When you fly towards a crowd, you hear those Merlins getting closer and closer and closer and then roaring overhead. It's a beautiful sound.
Yeah. We're very fortunate to have it flying and to see it above the, in the skies above Lincolnshire. How long do you think it will continue flying for?
As far as we're concerned, and those that are involved, we'd love to see it flying as long as possible. You look at the various limitations, I think probably the most likely one is finance. Like with the Vulcan, obviously, it's got to be sponsored by the MOD, which means taxpayers. As long as the taxpayers keep up the effort, keep up the pressure on the financiers, there's no reason why it can't fly forever. That's our biggest concern. Technology, yes, it's going to be a problem as things get older, but we can always make spares for it. We can always borrow bits or exchange bits with other units. So, to my mind, if it ever finishes flying, it'll be down to the finance.
Yeah. Like yourself, Mike, I've got family links with the Lancaster. My grandfather, he was instrumental in putting together all the materials for the bouncing bomb during the war.
Wow. Yeah.
He worked at Avro's after the war, so it's quite a special aeroplane for me from that respect.
Yeah. It's amazing, I find, how many people have got connections with Lancasters one way or another. We've got obviously a good average number of people here today, and their average background and average experience. But I suppose everyone is here because they love aeroplanes. But when you speak to people, the number of people who have a connection, either their uncle or their grandfather or somebody who worked on Lancs, it seems to spread out throughout the whole of the UK. And the Lancaster just has a special appeal for people. I'm biased, I've got lots of reasons why I love it, but lots of other people seem fascinated by it as well.
Yeah. Mike, regarding the show today, what for you will be the highlight today?
Me leaving the RAF. Obviously that's a bit flippant. After 40 years doing various jobs in the Air Force, this is something I really love, so it's great for me to be finishing today on a day like this. As far as flying display goes, I always have to go out, even though I still live near Coningsby, I have to go out there and watch the Lancaster fly past. Brings back happy memories, has a tinge of jealousy always when I ever see it flying, but it's just a great part of the event for me. It brings back childhood memories when I was a real young lad and my dad used to take me along to the air shows at Cunningley. The highlight would be the Lancaster flying past, and that's still the same even now.
Yeah. Just a word as well, please, Mark, about the Heritage Centre that you have here. Would you like to give us a little bit of insight into what you actually do?
Okay, yeah. The Heritage Centre is a group run by volunteers at Waddington, mainly service people, but also retired service people as well. There's always been a Heritage Centre at Waddington, but it's been hidden away in some fairly small rooms at the back. It's just recently that we've had some very keen leaders involved who've actually managed to get the resources from the station, spread the word around, encourage people to join our association, which means that we've developed and got a lot bigger. We've now got more rooms on show, we've got now more exhibits to show. It's also part of it is that the hierarchy in the Air Force were concerned that some of the younger guys joining nowadays don't have a great information about, or a great knowledge about the history of the RAF. And of course we're all very, very proud of it. So the idea of the project was also to try and get young guys involved with the Air Force in the project to realise what their forebears did at Waddington. So they've got direct links. They can say the job I'm doing now was done 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago at Waddington by somebody just like me, and they were putting their lives at risk A lot of people obviously lost their lives, and it's great for us to be able to show these guys that what they're doing is part of a bigger story. That's what the Heritage Centre is all about, really. It's to let people on the station know what is they're part of.
Yes,
and obviously get the local civilians invited in as well, because there's so much interest, obviously, in Bomber Command and Bomber County and the local area.
Yeah, so especially this year with it being the 70th anniversary of the Dam Busters raid as well, there's extra interest there. You've got one or two exhibits here. You've got is it an old engine? And
yeah, all the bits you see here of Lancasters all come from one particular aircraft. The aircraft is PD-259, the Lancaster of 463 Squadron, and it got airborne from Waddington here on the 31st of August 1944 and never came back until recently. It crashed up in the hills of Scotland, and even though the site's been known about for many years, it's so remote that it was very difficult to actually get hold of any of the bits. But recently, with the help of a helicopter, because there's more involvement now with force development and history, we managed to use a helicopter, went up to the hillside and got, with an underslung load, recovered lots of these bits in two separate events really, one in 2009, one in 2010. And we managed to get the bits back here to Waddington. We've cleaned them up, we've restored them as much as we can, and they're now on show in the Heritage Centre. So all these bits are very, very special. I can talk to you for hours about these sections. But basically, the aircraft crashed on a training flight. The crew were all sadly killed. They're buried down at Cambridge now in the war graves there. But obviously, these bits here are fascinating, and it's lovely to see how much interest the public has. Some of the bits are in amazing condition, considering the aircraft crashed and all the crew were killed. Some of the boats, like the side panel, we've got all the coloured markings on there, just as it was 70 odd years ago. And the engine itself, obviously very special, the Merlin engine. And one of the best bits is the wheel, still inflated, still as it was the day it took off from here in 1944.
Excellent. Mike, one final question. Do you have a website?
Yes, there is a website. We haven't got the connection, but if you go online and Google or search for the Waddington Heritage Centre, you'll find the details of how to arrange a visit or how to find more information about it.
Mike Chatterton, thank you very much indeed.
A pleasure.
Cheers, Mike. Thank you very much.
Okay, good stuff.